How do you turn these mics on?
I don't know. Let's just start the video.
Okay.
Welcome to Just John and Julia, the gaming podcast, where you, what do we do?
Talk about gaming. Okay, so the game is Roblox. And the best game on Roblox is obviously Bloxburg.
Well, what? No, it's Phantom Forces.
What are you talking about? Bloxburg is so much better than Phantom Forces.
Excuse me, Phantom Forces is number one.
No, it isn't. Bloxburg is number one on the leaderboard. What are you talking about? Everybody's
Phantom Forces is number one on the best rated.
But Phantom Forces didn't get a Bloxy award.
But it did.
No, it did. Oh my gosh, what are you talking about?
These daggone kids, man.
Welcome to Just John and April, the relationship podcast, your place for life, love, and laughs. In today's episode, Beth and Randall's Flight of Fancy and Word of the Day.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm excited.
I know you are. This has been a long time coming.
Yes, this is us. We're going to be talking about Beth and Randall.
So the problem is she made me watch all these episodes.
And he enjoyed every bit.
No, that's not true.
Glued to the television.
First of all, why are you always exaggerating?
John, you
I
were
was
not
glued.
You were silent.
April, I was getting up and getting food.
And then you were like, ooh.
I would get sodas and stuff like that.
Ooh, and making noises in the background like,
Oh, brother, you know what, man?
You know, that means something. So don't try to,
Exaggeration.
It's okay.
All right. I'm not going to lie.
I know the real deal.
I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to admit,
Thank
since
you.
everybody's here.
Thank you.
It wasn't like that.
I'm waiting.
Okay. It was good.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
It was.
We watched the last 3 episodes of the most recent season.
Together.
And it was for me to do research for the podcast. And I happened to enjoy it at the same time. So I'll give it to them. What I actually liked about it was they really do a good job of taking real life situations and stuff that families actually go through.
Yes.
And they
That's
put
what
it
I
on
love
screen.
about it.
I mean, so it's good.
It is good.
We have a lot of stuff we can talk about from that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to my favorite couple
Okay, let's
on
go.
the show.
Yeah, you do love them.
I do love Beth and Randall because they just kind of remind me of us a little bit, you know, sometimes
So
in the
I
way
look,
we act
I look
towards each
dorky like Randall. Is that what you're saying?
He doesn't
That
look
dude is
dorky.
a bae. Hold on. He has no swag.
Come on.
He-
It's a cute little thing.
He's a
so
dweeb.
Cute. It's a cute dweeb.
Okay. Am I?
know?
Hold on. What I want to know is, do you think I'm a dweeb?
I think that you are.
Wow. There
What?
should have been a no immediately.
You're not a dweeb. I
Okay.
was gonna say I think you're a nerd
Okay,
like
that's true.
with swag.
Huh? Okay. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Okay.
go ahead. Beth and Randall, your favorite couple.
Yes. So we're talking about Beth and Randall.
Yes.
And the thing that we're going to focus on today is that Beth feels like her entire relationship has been basically her supporting him.
Right.
I mean, you can kind of see that in the beginning when they showed him asking her out. He didn't even ask her out. He just said, this is what you're going to do.
Right.
What time should I come pick you
Right.
up? The point is, that's how it started.
Right.
You know, so, and it's so funny because when they were in the restaurant, when they were, you know, on their first date, she basically told him what she feels like and what she has shown throughout their whole marriage, at least what we've seen. And that is, you're just too much.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, when he
Yeah.
goes for something, he goes all in.
Right,
He wants
right,
to do everything.
right.
And sometimes that can be overwhelming. As we talked about in the last episode, it can be stressful.
Right.
You know, when one thing after the other, here he is now with the next thing.
Yeah.
Oh, he's done with that.
Yeah,
Now he's
yeah,
with the next
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And that can kind of be frustrating.
Right.
And let's just
So
go.
so hold on. So
Okay.
you're saying really that being married to him at all
Yes.
is a lot
It's a lot.
because of how much comes with him.
Yes,
The
but she
kinda guy
loves
that he
him
is.
because he's
Clearly.
a great guy.
Right, right.
And, you know, he's corny, but it's a cute corny. It's, you know, and they laugh together. It's like they have the same kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know. They have a nice connection.
They do.
You know.
Their chemistry is
So
good.
the chemistry is good.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
they have the love, and it's like they're like ride or die. You can
Definitely.
tell.
Yes.
She's like, I'm here for you.
Yes.
We doing this together.
In fact, that was a big part of their argument. She was upset with him when they were talking in this one scene, and she was basically saying, when have I not supported you? And he was like, never.
Never.
So,
right.
she's ride or die.
She's ride or die.
Yeah.
So is he.
Right.
You
Clearly.
know,
Yeah.
but in a different way.
Right. Okay.
In her eyes,
Right.
at least.
Right.
Because, okay, let's just go through
Yeah.
the list of things.
Yes.
Okay, so his father, trying to find his father. He finds his father. He comes live with and lives with them.
This is a list of reasons why Randall is too much.
Yeah, and that she supports everything that he wants.
Right.
Because these things are big deal. This is not
And this
just
stuff is
little stuff.
out of the blue.
Yeah, this is not, hey,
Yeah.
I just want to go buy a new car.
Right.
This
Right.
is
Huge stuff.
I want this stranger,
Right.
To come live with
Right,
us.
right.
We don't even know him.
His
even though
real
he's-
father that he didn't grow up with or anything like that,
Right.
never knew him.
Never knew him.
He asked this guy to come live with him.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he comes to live with the two girls. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot to
Agreed.
take on,
You're
right?
right.
So they do that.
Yeah.
Then he wants to buy the dad's building.
Right.
Because the people who are living in the building are not being treated
Right,
properly,
right. Yeah.
and he's wanting to save them.
Yeah.
So
One of these big-hearted guys that always wants
that's
to
a
save
big
people.
deal.
Yeah. Right.
She says okay to that.
Right.
Even though she starts off with like, come on, Randall, and then she's like, okay, gives
the
in
end,
to
she
that.
supports him.
In the
Yeah.
end, she supports him.
Right.
He buys the building.
Right.
Then after his father dies and everything, he's like, oh, I want to adopt. I want to do what was done for me. I want to do that for somebody else. So he brings in this troubled child.
Right.
What does she do? She was hesitant. She was like, I don't know about this. She, she did it again. Then she
Then she
supported.
supports him.
She
Yeah.
brings in the girl. She supports the girl. Matter of fact, she treats her as her own.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goes through all the issues with the mother and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And now he wants to run for city council.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she supports that.
Right.
And then it gets too much. He goes and he does all of this stuff until it gets to the point where she's like, you know what? I can't take this anymore.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
I'm not supporting you. I'm done. It's like, whoa. And he
Wow.
looks dumbfounded, like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
Because she's always supporting him.
Right.
So here she is now saying, I'm done. I
can't do this no
can't
more.
take it. It's
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
And she's thinking he's going to be like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't, So she ends up supporting him again.
Okay.
She ends up coming back.
Same thing as always.
Same thing as always.
Right.
So she
Whatever.
decided, you know what? As she thinks back, you know what? I think I want to do what I've been wanting to do. I've lost my dream. I lost it. Sometimes, let's just pause a minute.
Yeah.
You can be in your life,
Yes.
where there's marriage, work,
Right.
and you're so
You
going.
get caught up in
you
all of the
lose
stuff.
That
You may actually lose
ability-
yourself
Yes.
in your life and your kids and your husband
You
and your
lose
wife,
yourself.
whatever. You end up losing a lot of things. And sometimes you end up looking back and saying, "Man, I had this thing I loved. What happened to that?"
Yeah, I had this dream.
Right.
I used to
Yeah.
dream. I
Right.
used to want things.
Right. I used to want to do this, that, and the other, and now
I
I'm
don't
just
even-
caught up in the regular whirlwind of things that happen in my life every day, and I have no clue
Yeah.
what happened to that.
And what's crazy is this is their argument.
Right.
Every marriage has the argument.
The one thing
The
that
one
you,
thing
that you
you
keep
will
coming back to
always come
all the
back-
time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've heard couples that have been married for, 40 years say they are still having that one thing that they keep coming back to. So, that doesn't mean they're not in a happy marriage.
Right.
So they're just,
We definitely have our one argument.
oh, we
that
do.
always have.
Yeah.
At least
we
once a
we'll,
year.
we'll talk about that at some point.
Yeah, different episode.
Anyway.
We should
so-
have the argument in an episode. Okay, that's a bad
Are you
idea.
serious?
Just kidding. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, anyway.
We
what were
might actually,
saying? You're right.
by accident.
We're leaving out a key thing, though.
Okay.
And this was the part that I resonated with. He sits her down and says to her, basically, I understand about your dream, and I support your dream, and I think you should do this, but it's
But-
right now the right time.
But,
Something like that.
Yep.
And the way he said it, I was thinking there was just something about it that just didn't sit right with me, where it made me feel like probably exactly what you've been feeling, that all this time she's been prioritizing him. Here's his chance to prove that she can be a priority too. And what he does is ask her to delay her dream, basically.
Yeah, because he was like, maybe next year,
Right.
which is going to be something else.
So this is what I think really started it. It wasn't the voicemail the following day or whenever that was that happened. I think it started that day when he asked her,
Yeah.
would you delay this
Right.
so that you can basically be home with the girls?
You were saying that as soon as he ended up supporting her,
Right.
she was able to realize,
Right.
because he ended up coming around and saying,
So let's just talk about that, but let's talk about it in the context of regular relationships outside of Beth and Randall.
okay.
Okay. Here's my theory. My theory is that Beth was acting in a particular way because she was reacting to something that she felt from her husband. She felt like he was not supporting her. And because of that, it didn't free her to be able to think about the situation from an objective perspective.
Right.
I think she was thinking of it from a place of defense or
Yes,
or
she was.
whatever you want to call it, because now she's upset because he's not supporting her.
Exactly.
Okay. So once they have their little argument thing,
Yeah.
and they work it out, and he realizes that he's being a jerk
Yeah.
and that he really is not supporting her, and then he begins to support her, I think it frees her up
To be
to be able to see the situation for what it is.
Take off the blinders.
That's exactly right. But my point is, I feel the same way, and I think it's happened to us in our own relationship. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead. What you gonna say
No,
first?
I
and then-
was just going to say
Yes.
that, when you talk about real relationships, that's true.
Yeah.
When you don't feel supported or whatever the case may be, you will react.
Yes.
And so what it makes you do is it makes you respond in a defensive way.
True.
So if you notice, she just went all in.
Right.
Like, she didn't even think about her daughters.
Right.
It was like,
Right.
no, this
Right.
is my dream. I'm going
Right.
to finally get what I
Right.
want.
Right.
So it wasn't, okay, this child over here is not getting paid attention to. This one over here was watching us fight. Like, it wasn't even, she wasn't even acknowledging that.
She was just going after her dream because
All the way.
Okay, nobody's gonna support me.
Yeah.
Fine, I'm gonna just do this.
Yeah, now it's my turn.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
and it's like you said, you're not even able to see what it's really doing, and
Right.
is this really what you want?
Right.
Because
Right.
you're
Right.
trying to fight
Right.
now.
Right.
So sometimes you do things just to fight, just to get
Right.
it, just to win.
Right.
When it's not even something that, if you really thought about it,
Right.
because once she felt supported, those blinders came off,
Yep.
and she was able to see,
Took her guard
wow,
down. Yep.
this actually isn't what I want to do.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But
okay,
so let me give you a real world example
Okay.
from our situation. I don't know if you remember this. So it was one of those milestone type birthdays where men sometimes start acting crazy, and I was acting crazy. So what ended up happening was there's a guy that I knew who was into cars, and he was sort of into like race cars, and he found this one Acura RSX, a particular year, where you can basically do certain things to it to modify it to make it faster and better and all this stuff. Now, this particular guy was really good at finding cars at good prices. And so he had found one, and I saw him, and it was nice to let me drive it, all this other kind of stuff. So for whatever reason, now I wanted one. And I'm looking for them online, and I'm doing all this stuff. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you remember now.
With 2 little babies.
Well, they weren't that little. Anyway.
they were.
Okay, fine. We had 2 little babies. The point is, I was going through something, and I was basically on this RSX kick. I wanted to buy one of these things. And I brought the idea to April, and she responded in a way that she normally doesn't respond, and it actually took me by surprise. April did not knock it down. She did not say, what are you thinking? This is not the time for that. We don't have the money. We got 2 kids, whatever. She didn't do any of that stuff. And this is the first time she ever really reacted and responded to me in this way about something like that.
Okay, so I'm going to stop, because the only reason why I reacted like that is because of how badly things went when I didn't respond that way. Okay, we had many other times when I immediately jumped like, what?
Right,
What are you
right,
talking about? Why
right,
would you,
right.
and,
Yeah, it didn't
jumped
go
to
well.
conclusion. It didn't go well.
Yeah.
So I decided, okay, the next time this happens, I'm just going to be quiet. And I'm just
Well-
going to say, okay,
Right.
let's look at it.
But you
okay,
that's exactly what you said.
Let's just see.
Right. And the thing about it that was weird was you had a really good poker face. You did not show on your face that you were anxious about it or like it was making your blood pressure go up or anything like that, which
Right.
I'm sure it was doing.
It was.
Yeah.
And what I'm telling y'all, I was on my knees saying, Lord, you cannot have him, please, Do not have him going and doing this,
Right.
because I did not want this, and I didn't want it to come. I didn't want to have to step up and be like, "Look, we cannot do this."
Right.
And then
So-
we have another.
So here's
big
what happened.
argument.
Here's what happened that you, husbands or wives or significant others, whatever, you all that listen to this, here's what happened that I wasn't expecting, but it makes sense based on the theory that we have that we're talking about with Beth and Randall. When April responded that way and she said, let's look at it or whatever, I kept talking about it for a few more days, maybe even a week. I was showing her stuff online. I was
And
finding
I was
different
just
things.
watching. I was like, "Ooh, looking." And
Yeah. She never actually said to me, yes, let's do that. But she never responded the way she would normally, which was to knock it down. She basically was sort of supportively listening.
Yes, that's exactly what.
Maybe
it
that's
was.
the way. Maybe that's the way
what it
to
was.
describe it.
Yeah.
And without
a
ever
perfect description.
belittling me or making me feel like what I was saying was stupid or that this doesn't make any sense. She never once gave me that indication. And then guess what happened? One morning I woke up and I said to April, babe, I've really been thinking about this. This really isn't the right time for us to be doing this. We shouldn't be. I don't think I should be looking for a car like this, whatever. And I dropped it. It was like a week of us talking about it, dreaming about it, whatever. And then I came to my senses myself. And here's what I'm saying. My theory is that if April had responded the way she normally responded, I might have actually pulled a Beth and gone and tried my best to find one of these things and actually make it happen.
Yeah.
Just to prove that I could or whatever.
Okay, so
because I didn't feel supported. But the moment you don't knock me down, I feel supported by you, and it actually frees me to be able
see
to
the
think
reality.
more clearly. I can be more objective. I can step back and look at it. And by the way, April has used that technique many more times in our relationship, and almost every time the same thing happens. I realize on my own, babe, this isn't the right time for this. It ends up being a thing that's like a passing thing.
Yeah.
And then ends up being okay.
And that actually is a good way to handle those types of things.
I agree.
You have to know your partner too.
Right.
But I think that sometimes your significant other just wants to be listened to.
Right.
They want you to hear their dreams.
Right. That's it.
And the thing that made me be okay with listening and just supporting the thought of it is that he's not doing it right now.
Right.
You weren't going out buying the car that day.
I didn't come back with a receipt showing you what I'd already done. Or something like that.
And I knew you weren't going to do that without talking to me about it. So I knew that this was just talk, and it's okay to listen to the talk.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
So
Yeah.
if
But can I say one more thing though? It really takes courage to do that though.
yeah,
Because I think most people assume if I don't cut this person down right now and nip this in the bud, if I make it look like I'm okay with it, he just might come home the next day with the car.
right.
That's usually what people are thinking, and so they
And
don't have the courage to necessarily actually do that.
But there may be some people who do that, who just come home with the car and they don't check in and say
that's a totally
but
different situation.
That is because that's something different.
That's
Yeah,
totally different.
It is.
Anyway, so back to what you were saying.
But I was going to say that there may be many couples or, husbands or wives who feel like Beth in that everything is always about the other one.
Right.
I mean,
Always
we've
revolving
had
around
friends
them.
who say, man, you get everything you want. I don't get nothing in this relationship. You get everything. So it's like, how do you deal with that? Because I feel like that's the person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to be with somebody where it's like everything they want is what ends up happening.
Right.
Or they'll throw a temper tantrum.
Right.
They'll either sulk
Right.
or be real quiet. And then
or give you a guilt trip.
or give you a guilt trip, and you end up saying, fine,
Right.
I guess, I don't even want to deal with this.
Right.
I can't live like this, whatever. Let me just
Right.
go ahead and give them whatever. Or you feel bad and you give in.
Right.
So how do you deal with that? Because, I mean,
Yeah, it's tough.
especially when it comes to jobs.
Right.
Because, I mean, like me moving with you because of
Right.
your job.
Right.
There have been times, not many,
Right.
but there have been some times where I felt like, man, I feel like I gotta just go where you go.
Drop everything and just
drop
do this.
everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really don't mind,
Right.
and I love it.
Right.
But there are moments where I kind of felt like,
Right.
man, this.
I really love
know.
my job, or I like what I'm doing. And,
Right.
yeah.
And now we got to get up and leave.
Right.
Or, man,
Right.
I was just about to have an opportunity to do
Right.
this or do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But, and of course that is, supporting,
Yes.
and I don't feel like you're not wanting me to be able to do the things I want to do.
Right. Right.
But I'm saying there are people who are in those relationships where they do feel like that.
Well, I think the number one thing that has to happen is I think there has to be in the relationship a feeling that each one at least is listened to when it comes to their dreams.
It's true.
If I try to articulate this thing that I want to do, and every time I talk about it, all you do is screw up your face, or you find something else to do while we're talking and you lose interest or whatever. You somehow knock it down or whatever. Sometimes I just want to be able to be heard, and you hear this thing that I want to do, even if it's crazy, and you just listen and don't tell me it's crazy.
Right.
Sometimes that's enough, and a person will feel like, wow, he actually does care, or she actually does care about what I'm thinking.
So why don't you do that when I'm telling you about my inventions?
Y'all,
I mean,
hold on. We need to make this a segment at some point. We're not doing it now.
I have inventions, and he knocks them down.
I don't knock them down. I just make fun of the fact
he
that
laughs at them immediately.
Normally, what
he
happens
says they're
is
dumb.
Normally, what happens is April comes up with an invention, and usually it's something that's already been invented. And I look it up, and I'm like, babe, they already have that.
I mean, usually it is, but I'm saying you don't know it's already invented in the beginning.
I usually assume that it is.
And then he goes and looks it up and says, see, it's already invented, so you're done. I mean, he like knocks it down. So he's not even taking his own advice. Anyway, I'm just plugging that in that the next invention I come up with,
I won't do that.
Thank you.
I will support your inventions.
But I totally agree with you. When you listen, and not even that, not just listening, supporting to that next level where it's like, you know what? I'm going to take steps towards fulfilling their dream. You know?
Yeah.
Something little, like, you know, somebody might want to go into photography or something like that. You know what? I'm going to buy her or his first camera.
Right.
You know? Yeah. I mean, just something that shows I support that, and I do want you to do this.
Yes.
You know, because sometimes it's about money. You don't have the money, or you don't have the time.
Yes.
Well, you know what, babe? You go ahead and you work on your stuff. I got the kids tonight.
Yes.
You know, start writing up your plan. I'm going to give you the day.
Right.
Take a Sunday. I'm going to put you up in a hotel and you can just work on your stuff.
Yes.
You know, I have a friend who loves gardening. She always wants to garden. And it's like, you know, her husband could say, hey, you know what? I'm going to get somebody to come and create this bed for you. This is where you can start in this little bitty spot, you know, and you can just start with some herbs. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think there are ways that you can go a little further with that to show that you support.
I think it starts with listening, but I think you should go further than that. I think it's important for each person in the relationship to be deliberately trying to make the other person feel supported. I
agree.
I think that's important.
Agree.
And I actually think, and this is counterintuitive because I think everything else in life, no one's going to give it to you. So if you don't go for it yourself, you're probably not going to get it. I think that's how we think about marriage. We come into marriage and each person is trying to fulfill their own whatever, you know? I want to feel validated. I want to feel supported. I want to feel whatever. So we go into it wanting to feel a particular thing when in fact the way marriages work, the ones that really work well, the ones where people are really happy, my whole focus is about making you feel a certain way and your focus is about making me feel a certain way. And when we're basically focused not on ourselves but on fulfilling each other, then we both end up feeling fulfilled.
Exactly.
That's really what needs to happen.
It really is true. If you focus on others, putting others first, and we know that's just a good lesson in life. Period. Right.
Yes,
putting others first.
Not just marital relationships or relationships in general. I mean, that works.
You end up getting fulfilled in that.
That's true. It happens all the time.
You know.
So I actually think that for those couples that are out there that are going through stuff like this, we just want to encourage you because it is possible to get through this. I do think it takes a lot of communication, though. I think you can take a page out of Beth and Randall's book.
Right.
They really didn't feel like talking about it that night. She had told him already he needs to sleep in his office in Philadelphia. She said, you got a cot over there and stuff. He said, no.
He said, nope.
I'm coming home and we're dealing with this now.
And he slammed that door.
She said, fine, go close the door.
Right.
And they dealt with it right there, even though they didn't feel like it.
Exactly.
And they both spoke open and honestly with each other about how they were really feeling. And she said some things that probably hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
And he probably did. Now, I don't think she was trying to.
No.
But it probably hurt him to know that she felt like he was treating her that way and vice versa.
Right.
And that has to happen. If you're in a relationship where you feel like everything is one-sided, then the reality is you're going to have to tell your significant other that at some point.
You have to.
And if you don't say it in a way that they can understand it, then it might be where they just ignore you and act like it's no big deal. So you may have to find a way to get through. I'm not even sure how to do that all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there are different ways. Some men in particular often tune out their significant other when the tone turns to a certain way. If he feels like this is nagging or something like that, he may start to tune you out even before you get to what you're really saying. So it actually might be better to come at him a totally different way. I'm not even positive exactly what way that would be right now, but maybe not the way you've been doing it, because if you keep doing it the same way and keep getting the same results, you're actually the crazy one if you think that doing it the same way is going to make it different.
Well, I think the best way to come at that is not to say you always, why you can't, you know.
Maybe own the feelings and say, this is how I feel about it.
I feel like I am blank. You know, I feel like I am not supported. You know what I'm saying? Instead of you don't support me.
That's right. Yes.
Because then
Yes.
it's not so, you know, we are so quick to defend ourselves. I don't know what we
especially
think.
when we're feeling attacked. If you say,
when you feel,
if you say to me, you don't support me, I'm going to feel attacked and I'm going to get defensive.
But you know,
Yeah.
I think back sometimes and I'm like, why do I get defensive when you come to me? Because I know you're trying to settle this. Why am I trying to take up for myself and not just saying, okay, let me listen to this. But when you're in it, you can't think like that. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
I think about that afterwards.
Yeah.
But that's really what it is. So I feel like if you come in a way where you're not attacking.
Right.
You know,
That'll
because
make a
when
difference.
as soon as somebody feels attacked, they get defensive. That's just
true.
a natural human instinct.
That's
you know
true.
what I'm saying?
You're right.
So I think it's better to say, I feel this way because I do not feel supported. I need this. I need to feel this way. You know, and I feel like that will come across a little bit better.
Yes.
And it won't be as naggy or won't
Right.
be as attacking.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and vice versa. I mean, same, you know, I think that
Sure.
the male to the female could be the same thing. And sometimes I think it is a lot of whoever has the job that makes the most money or whoever has a job that seems to mean more. It seems like things go their way when it comes to everything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I
Yeah.
think the thing that we should do is just be willing to give up.
Yes.
You know,
I
be
think
willing
each person
to
needs to
give
be
up
willing to give
your-
in and give up. And if you are being accused of always getting things your way, take that to heart. Think about
Yeah.
that for a second and
Yeah.
say to yourself, maybe that's true. Maybe I should start giving in sometimes and not
Right.
always trying to get my way.
Right.
And maybe you would enjoy your relationship better. You know, if both people are happy, then why would there ever be any real strife in the relationship?
It's true.
If one person is constantly unhappy, then maybe they're going to contribute to the other person's unhappiness, and now we're both unhappy.
Right.
If we're striving to make each other happy, that's the key.
It is. And
Yeah.
the only way I think you can do that is by giving up
Yeah.
and giving in sometimes.
Even if it means supporting your significant other's flight of fancy.
Yeah.
If there's some harebrained idea that comes out of nowhere, don't knock it down. Listen to what
Right.
they have to say.
Right.
Support them.
And if
see where it
possible,
goes.
you could even
Help to fulfill their dream.
Fulfill it.
That's right.
Yeah, if possible.
Yeah.
You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good step. Try to help fulfill your significant other's dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, now it's time for word of the day, and we happen to have two.
Yes, we have two for this one because you know,
this was such a good topic,
Yes, we had
and
to.
we both just had some good words that we felt like went
Yeah.
along with this really well. So,
yeah. Want me to go first?
yeah, go
All right,
ahead.
my word of the day is the word validation. Validation. All right, here's what it means. Demonstrate or support the value of. This is very important. We use the word support a whole bunch during that whole episode, but what I'm really looking for was something even more than that, and the word validation is better. What I felt like April was doing to me when she didn't cut me down when I talked about the car that I wanted was she was validating me. So she didn't necessarily agree with the idea that I was bringing to the table, but she thought that I was of value, and so she wanted to validate me, even though the thing that I was talking about, she didn't necessarily agree with.
Right.
But that was okay.
Right.
She was demonstrating the support of me. I was valuable to her, and that's
Right.
what she was doing. That's what I think we've got to do. When your significant other comes to you with something crazy, don't invalidate them. Validate them. You value them. Support them. Validate them, even if you don't agree necessarily with what they're talking about.
Right.
Anyway,
and then
that's my
pray
word.
that thing through if it's really crazy.
Exactly.
Okay, so my word of the day is sacrifice.
That's a good word, babe.
And
really good word.
it's an act of giving up something of value for something else regarded as more important.
Wow. That's a good definition.
Wow. So,
Wow.
you know, I mean, when I hear that, it's like First of all, I really didn't know what the word sacrifice meant all the way.
Right.
Until I really read that.
Yes.
And thought about it, because that means I should be looking at my spouse as more important than myself.
Yeah. And we should be sacrificing for each other.
That's what I'm saying. So important to me that I'm willing to give up my wants for his.
Yes.
And him, same for me.
Yeah.
It's like, and when you do that, how can happiness not be there?
It's true. Has to be. Yeah.
But that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So you have to.
I try to sacrifice. I hope you feel like I sacrifice for you, babe.
I do.
Okay,
I
good.
do feel like that. That's why I said, I had my moments, but they don't last long.
Right.
You know, they don't last long because you really show me that you
I'm glad you think so.
you validate me.
Yeah, that's good. You do really well validating me too, actually. Like really well. You've learned that.
You've come
over
a
the
long
years.
way.
Man, you have no idea.
It hasn't always been this way. We've come a long way.
So those are
but
the
it
two words
practice.
of the day.
It takes practice.
Validation and sacrifice. Remember
That's
those
right.
words this week.
That's right.
And try to find a way to use those in your actual relationship.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you going to sign us off or am I?
I see. What do we say when we sign off? I
Thanks
forgot.
for listening to Just John and April.
Oh,
Do you wanna
thanks
do it?
for listening to Just John and April. Until next time, follow us on Facebook at John and April or Instagram at Just John and April. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes, please subscribe.
And press that little bell so it can notify you.
Yes.
And also, you can email us.
That's right.
Right?
JohnandApril2000@gmail.com.
Yes.
Yeah,
if you
hit
have
us up.
questions or you
Yes.
just want to talk to us about something,
Yes.
we're open to talking to you.
Yes. You did a good job leading out this episode, babe.
Thanks. I need some work on that ending. Though.
Hey, big deal. They know. They already know. It's no big deal. See you next time.
Okay. See ya.
Bye, guys. Okay. NBC. This is us.